European Union. One city in Europe, the GDP of London alone can run the economy. One city in Europe, for example, London, the GDP of London is more than 3 times the GDP of Kenya as a whole country. So how do we have bilateral trade agreement with a country that is so powerful than us? Ni kama Kenya ikuwe na trade agreement na Turkana. When you look at that, you realize that we are not giving enough. And the things that we import from Europe are the things that we export to them in terms of raw material. They do value addition, then they take it back. Hii kahawa tunakunywa hapa ni third grade. Ile imebaki ile uchafu kabisa. First grade tumepeleka Europe. Then when a member of parliament wants to take coffee here in Nairobi, he takes coffee that is imported. Imepandwa hapa Murang'a, ikapelekwa Europe, ikaongezwa piloko piloko, ikarudishwa, sasa ndo tunauziwa na bei ghali. Sasa ndio tunasema for us to be at par with the European Union, we must be an industrial hub. We must look for ways of exporting finished products instead of exporting raw materials. Tuki-export a finished product of coffee, it will give us more returns than when we export a raw material of coffee. So, it's a recording. So what we are saying is, by now, Africa, we are still lagging behind. When we talk about empowering ourselves so that we do not export labor to those other countries. There is a gentleman who gave an analogy that summarized this whole conundrum. That in the beginning we had the American panda that had taken over trade in Africa as a whole. But the American panda has long retreated to the forest. Then there came the European bear that has also been dominating trade in Africa. It has also fallen asleep. As we speak, we have the Asian tiger that is now dominating. We need to look for ways of waking up the African lion. So these other animals wamekuwa na their own regime. They have retired. We need to wake up the African lion that is asleep in the forest of Congo. It has been walking around the Atlas Mountains and along River Nile. That is an analogy that only few can understand. Mr. Speaker, as I finish, allow me to take to solve a problem within our house before I settle on my behinds. During the day, on that day, we commemorated the social justice, World Social Justice Day. We had a board of contention from one of our members who came and gave his own opinion that could be misconstrued as the one stand of Bunge la Mwananchi. When you come and say that as Bunge la Mwananchi, we prohibit the government from funding Raila Odinga's bid to the AU, when it is not my point, or it is not, mimi mwenyewe sijakubaliana na hiyo. I am very sure there are other members who do not support that. When you come in front here and you have an opinion, please say it that it is my opinion. Because today, if we are so careful and we care about money that is being used by the Kenyan government, as we speak today, we have a modern dice it is going to be built there at the State House, costing taxpayers around 600,000. Imekataliwa hiyo. Then we also have renovation ya hii nyumba ya DP. Sijui Ruto aliharibu aje, itaenda kucost around 300 and something million. Before we tuende tupige kelele eti pesa inatumika kufund Raila'S bid at the AU. If there is any Kenyan who qualifies to be funded by every coin a Kenyan produces, it is Raila Odinga. Because let me finish. Let me finish.
Remember, you are protected. You will contribute.
In terms of social justice, this person that has interest in being the AU chairman sits on the front seat of social justice. He has been agitating for reforms in this country. He has been the whistleblower of all mega corruption scandals in this country. He has been the one bringing to the limelight the inequalities propagated by the government. So if we are here to talk about social justice and Bunga la Mwananchi being a social justice movement, we should also be alive to the fact that there are those people out there who have been doing better than what we are doing today. Na lazima to give credit where it is due. Mr. Speaker, let me finish by saying, but he can ask so that.
You are not in a charge.
He can ask. He can ask.
Okay.
Just a minute. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to distinguish your dignity. Honorable member, I would wish to ask this question. Now, the money that is needed to fund the AU chairmanship of an individual, approximately it is 1.5 trillion shillings.
Yes.
Not even billion.
Yes.
Now, my question is this. Should we take 1.5 trillion, almost half of our budget in a fiscal year, to fund an individual project?
Who is going to fail?
Who is going to fail?
Okay. Hey, order there, bwana. Order.
As I respond to the question,
Can you leave the member to respond to him?
let me respond.
Let's have some order.
As I respond to the question posed by the honorable member,
Let him respond to the
a student only fails an exam after it has been marked. A student could have failed all these other cuts but passed in a national exam.
An injection?
No, I am not done answering the question. No. Let me finish. He has a point of information. Dakika moja alafu nikae chini. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, the member has allowed me to give him information.
Yes.
He has allowed me.
There is a point of information here.
Mr. Chairman, this member here has enumerated things that are in the report of the controller of budget. The repair of State House, the repair of the deputy president's residence are things that the member is quoting that are in the report of the controller of budget. Now, this member is mentioning 1.5 trillion. Where is it? Where can we read it?
Yes, we need to know.
We don't want to hear say here.
Okay.
Can he tell us to refer where he has
I must say, I must say, you will respond. Let me finish and you could be the, yes.
Now, where, Mr. Speaker?
Nyamaza huyo. Yes. We have a point of order this way. Yes.
Thank you to respond to the figure that I quoted.
Yes.
Now, number one, I am a researcher. I always put my point based on the point of research. I will use experimental research and basic research. a basic research is
Please,
used.
you need to go to school. Let the
A basic
members
Vuta aerial
report
one.
of the control of budget,
Yes.
the auditor general.
Where are you getting your point?
So hata sisi
Yes.
tusome.
I am giving you my
Yes.
point. The basic research is used to find an immediate solution.
Yes.
The research is this. For the government of Kenya, lobbyists, listen,
Yes. Situtulie bwana.
Hey, can you respond then? You are in some
Yes. I'm winding up. Wait. Ama ongea Kiswahili uelewe.
Okay,
Okay.
yes, then,
I am responding.
Yes.
Hey, yeah, I'm going to end it here.
What are we responding to? For Honorable Raila Odinga,
Yes.
amongst these 5 states,
Yes.
the total amount that was arrived
Yes.
is 1.5 trillion.
Arrived by who?
Okay, let me wind up. Kidogo. Let me wind up. Haya.
Respond then.
Bunge la mwananchi.
Let him respond. Let him respond.
Okay, let me wind up. 1 minute. 1 minute I wind up, then we continue.
Mr. Chairman, can you dismiss that as yes?
Okay, can you wind up?
Let me wind up, bwana. I am saying this. There is no one official document anywhere in this world that confirms the allegations made by the honorable member here. That is a mere smear campaign against our candidate. Let me now go back to the point that brought me here, to the motion. In order for us to stop exporting our young people, a member speaks according to the content he has. Ili tuwaje kutuma wasichana wetu kwenda Saudi Arabia kufanya kazi, we must do one thing that was proposed by Honorable Kwame Nkrumah, that a divided Africa is a weak Africa. The things that this honorable member proposed when he was on the floor are an antidote to the problem that we have. An antidote to the problem that we have. You cannot travel by road from South Africa to Nigeria without facing transportation constraints on the way. We must deal with that. Instead of us relying on the hii mambo ya polisi inaitwaje kwa kizungu, mambo ya intelligence from foreign organizations kama DCI and CIA. We must also have a very strong intelligence organization in Africa, because if we are just going to open our borders without regard to security, tulisema kidogo tu visa free entry into Kenya, and we have foreigners butchering our women. So we must also know that. Ili hiyo maneno iishe, lazima tukue na a very elaborate scheme where Africa, we must industrialize ourselves. Instead ya kufungua hizi na industrial parks, revive 2 companies. We have Kikomi and we have Rivertex. It will take up to, one company of Kikomi will employ up to 40,000 employees. So ukifungua mbili, umeajiri 80,000 Kenyans. Only 2 companies. That will affect 80,000 people multiplied by 5, because we assume that one employee has 5 dependents. So instead of doing all this mambo hii mingi, we have ways of curtailing our people from going into modern slavery in Europe and Asia. Thank you very much, Mrs. Speaker.
So, thank you.